the SD card has been fucky.
Really?
It did that one thing with that one interview where it didn't, it corrupted mine. And I had to use the Zoom track. And at the time, I'd only made it mixed down the whole track. I hadn't told it to do them individually. That was fun to edit. And then the episode we did last week, at some point, my track just goes silent.
Yo, why?
And I tried to do like the render and replace. I was like, oh, it's just screwed around, and it didn't do it. And so I grabbed the Zoom recording and like went, and there's no dead space in that. And I was like, what? And so I just took my audio from there and shoved it back in.
Wow.
Inexplicably missing. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm rolling on QuickTime too, and the SD card. And
Backups
Zoom.
on backups.
Yeah. When you buy shit, you kind of expect it to work. And it's weird that an SD card has problems like that. I just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah. Same.
Oh, well.
Those are normally pretty reliable.
Well, so am I, Dustin. But
normally.
Not
always.
Dustin, I've got my decaf.
Go for it. I've got just water.
I got some water too.
Womp womp.
Man, I burned the shit out of my hand last night.
Really?
I was pouring boiling potatoes into a strainer, and I strained them through my hand.
Oh!
I was just pouring, and it hit immediately. And the only thing that saved me was my sink was already full of room temperature water. Yeah. And so I was like, and I just shoved it in the water. And I think that if I hadn't done that, I imagine it would have been awful pain.
Yeah.
And then I rinsed it and everything. And so now they're just a little discolored. My fingers are a little discolored.
Oh, yeah. I see that. But does it hurt?
No. Yesterday it hurt a lot. Like I was just sitting there and it felt like a bad sunburn. Like I'd had sun poisoning or something. Yep. And so like I put a ton of Vaseline on it and put my hand in a sock when I went to bed.
Yep. Like a newborn baby.
Yeah. Or that guy Curly of Mice and Men. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah. Vaseline in the glove.
Yes.
When I read that in high school, I was like, I know what I think that's for. Is this for something else?
Right.
And they just said, yes. I still don't know why he did that.
Yeah, same. That's fine. Speaking of like hurting yourself. So just a few moments ago, I was trying to get the charger for this laptop and it was plugged in behind this trampoline that we have in the house. It's like a workout trampoline. And the trampoline was like standing up against the wall and the legs were coming out. And so I bent down to like get the charger off the wall and I impaled my face right on one of the stupid legs of the trampoline. And I immediately went and grabbed ice. Here it is. And I was like icing my cheek because I was like, I'm sure this is going to be like a black eye, but it's fine so far. We'll see if by the end of this, if it like, bruises up. But yeah, like right here, right in the like sinuses and cheekbone. I was just like, wham!
Right in the pain
into
spot.
It. Yeah. And I was like, ah!
It's like Doctor Strange and those needles.
Yes. It's like, but I was like, what a dumb thing of me. Like,
well, I felt the same way. I was like, I should have just gotten the strainer that can the other side. I was just upset about something and I was just working fast and I didn't feel like bending down and getting the strainer that actually like springboards onto the sink and holds itself. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it happened, my hand's in the sink and I was just like, I can't believe I just fucking did that.
Yep. Yep.
37 years old.
We've all been there.
It's the first time I've made such a rookie mistake.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've all been there.
I felt silly. I found it, by the way. Why does Curly have a glove full of Vaseline? Curly wears a glove filled with Vaseline to keep his left hand soft and moisturized for his wife. Because his hands otherwise get too rough and she wouldn't like that.
Yes. Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of literary stuff, so I don't know what you did this weekend. I went to Seaside, Florida. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A place I have been one time to get coffee. Like we were in Panama City Beach and then the group was like, let's go to whatever, Central Square and get coffee. And I was like, okay. And I walk into that big shopping center. I was like, is this where they shot the Truman Show? And then, yeah. And then we just left. And so I wanted to make a deliberate trip this time. And, for me, that's a 2.5 hour drive. So me and the lady friend first bought the Truman Show on Blu-ray, which I didn't own already, and rewatched it.
I just have a DVD copy, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had a DVD copy. So we watched the movie, and it's great, as always. And so then the time comes for the trip, drive over there, stop at the one Buc-ee's in my area. I bought this shirt
Yep,
at Buc-ee's, got to Seaside. And among other things, I went to this bookstore there called Sundog Books. I'd heard about it in just a local bookstore, and it's legitimately the best bookstore I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, like we have, indie local bookstores here and stuff like that. And, they're all over. I'm going to be going to New Orleans soon, and I'm going to check out a few of the bookstores there. I'll report back, Dustin. Sundog, I just knew was in Central Square. And I was like, well, great, because that's where we want to go anyway. Sundog Books is right there. There's a restaurant, there's coffee, and shop. We'll just go to this spot. And so I get there and I'm in the building, and it was so unhealthy for me, Dustin, because I went in there and like every book on their selection was mind blowing, especially for an independent bookstore to have as good or better of a selection than like a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Like, just in terms of, I bet they have this. I bet they have this.
Boom, they do.
It was just so tightly grouped. And all I saw everywhere I turned was a book that's on my reading list. And I spent more money than I'm willing to admit to you on books. I bought like 14 books or something.
Nice.
And the prices, and they were not cheap.
Yeah.
And a shirt and a mug, actually. Sundog is great. There probably was a copy of Mice of Men in there, but I grabbed a ton of stuff. I got like a copy of the Odyssey because I haven't read that, I don't think, since I was in high school. And I thought it'd be cool to read it again before the film comes out.
Yep.
Which is this year? Is that this year?
Yeah, it's this summer, I think.
Summer?
I think so.
Oh, shit. I'm never going to get
yeah, I was going to say July 17th. You got a few months.
Boy. It was a good trip, and it was an easy one, and I could easily do it again. 10 out of 10. Went to Truman's house.
Nice.
That was cool. I went to the traffic circle and made a video that nobody appreciated. I'm looking at you, Dustin.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But you knew what I was doing, right?
I knew exactly what you were doing.
Okay, great. That's all I care about.
Yeah, no, I was on a date with Sarah as well, so we were like no phones at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like one of those.
I like to think you took it out anyway, and you both watched it, and then you said no phones.
No, I did look at it, and I said, "Oh, Hooper's touring the Truman Show," and then and she goes, "Okay." And I was like, cool. Have you seen that movie? She goes, no. And I was like, okay.
I don't know when the next time you're going to come down here again is, but I recommend Seaside. Although when we got back, we're like, I wonder it'd be cool to stay in one of these places. Like, I wonder what the Airbnb is for like one of these houses, which I don't think any of them on those streets, like Natchez or any of the ones where they shot the Truman Show, I don't think those are Airbnb'd out. But similar ones, like $800 a night.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, okay. That's crazy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm close enough to drive. I'll just drive. It'll just be a day trip.
I'll just come look. Yep.
Yeah. I'll just, that's pretty much what I just walked around and looked. Looked in some shops, a lot of wares, a lot of food trucks, like permanent fixtures.
Nice.
Like they have like fences on the side of them and everything. And that was super cool. I had some crepes. I had like a bacon, egg, and cheese crepe. It was awesome.
Sounds delicious.
It was great. You would have loved it.
I'm sure I would have.
Yeah, it was good. So
you had me a breakfast food.
If you're on the Gulf Coast, go to Seaside if you haven't. It is worth it. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about Project Hail Mary because you have seen it already. When this episode comes out, it will have been out for a week already. As soon as we can, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I wanted to know your thoughts on it sort of briefly without spoilers before I saw it.
Yeah. So I'll keep it super brief, but essentially, because I'm looking at this as like, should I go see the movie? Bottom line, yeah, totally. So this is it's
such a good book.
So this is based on a book by Andy Weir, which I've not read. I've always heard like great things about it since the day it was released. Everyone was telling me like, you've got to read this book.
Yeah.
But I saw the movie and it was great. It's just a really well-made movie. Really kind of a tour de force by Ryan Gosling, who has traditionally been hit or miss for me. Lately more hit, but some miss in the past. And like, I think he's grown into this persona he's created, which is like equal parts comedian and like really serious dramatic actor. And I think once he started embracing the comedy, he really started to like level up his game.
Yeah, like a renaissance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this was like 10 or so years ago when that started. Yeah.
But like when you think about like the older Gosling movies, they were a little too self-serious.
Yeah, The Notebook.
Yeah. Even
Half
like
Nelson.
Blade Runner. Even Blade Runner is like a little too serious.
Yeah.
Just his persona works better when he's allowed to be a little more comedic, and this allows for that. And I think it's really great. He does a fantastic job.
It's a great character. It's a great
character.
It's
such
absolutely. A well-drawn character and situation to put him in. I adore the plot of Project Hail Mary. Yeah. Which essentially is that there's a crisis facing the earth. This high school teacher is basically tasked with saving humanity. Through a bunch of plot circumstances that become clear as you go. The book itself flips back and forth between him on the ship and him before being on the ship. Yep. Because when he wakes up on the ship in the book, and I'm sure in the film, he has it takes him a bit to get memories back. Yeah. And that's how Andy Weir kind of piece by piece gives you more of who he is and what they're doing there, and some more plot mechanics that explain why things are the way they are.
Correct. And it's really well shot. Like I said, it's comedic. Like, this is a Lord and Miller movie, so you'd expect that. And it's just really well made. So I enjoyed it a lot, and I would recommend anybody go see this movie. It's more like heady science fiction than some people might want. Like, it seems to be rooted in an actual science as opposed to just the fiction part of it. Yeah.
It's a lot more like Interstellar in that sense.
Like you can look at sci-fi. You can look at sci-fi as two things, like STEM with some extravagance. Yes. Or pure fiction with a little bit of mumbo jumbo. Yeah. And that's, and this is the former.
The STEM.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made. Go see it. I think it's equally funny and touching and, dramatic and tense and action packed and all the things you'd want from a blockbuster. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. Go see it. I think it's great. I'm
so excited to see it and to talk about it because, and I think we should probably try and get Kellen on too. If we can swing that, because Kellen, when I started, I read The Martian and Project Hail Mary basically back to back. And when I started Project Hail Mary, I sent him a picture of the book and he was like, "Oh my God, it's such a good book." Yeah. Yep. Great. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen it already, go out and see it. I'll be seeing it and we'll talk about it. Yeah. At the end, the capper of my Seaside trip, the evening I got back, we watched tonight's film, Wake Up Dead Man.
You're the only one on stage with the Monsignor at the time of his killing. You're the only one at that church who hated his guts.
The spirit really moved him today, huh?
So tell me, what the hell happened?
Everyone thinks I did it. I didn't do it.
This goes way beyond normal police work. This is something you and I have not experienced. A perfectly impossible crime.
This case is solvable, right?
I'm incapable of not solving a crime. Oh, you'll see. It's fun.
Wicks had a vast family fortune.
If made public, can ruin people.
God forbid.
It is time to discover what this flock of wicked wolves is hiding.
There's some Scooby-Doo shit going on here.
Scooby-Doo. With all the pieces on the table, this crime appears impossible.
Makes me sick. These kids painting rocket ships all over his sacred resting place.
This is the third Knives Out film. If you're paying attention, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. So, of course, it is written and directed by Rian Johnson, who, at this point, I love again. The more he makes these movies, the more I sort of stop blaming him about Star Wars and just keep blaming Kathleen Kennedy for not realizing who she hired. So starring, of course, Daniel Craig is back as Benoit Blanc, and then this stacked cast of actors. Josh O'Connor, who's in everything, who's having a moment right now. He's in everything, and he's in this, and he's great. Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, whose name I still can't say, Daryl McCormick, Thomas Hayden Church, John Hayden Church. It's so hard to see that guy and not see John.
I know. I was going to say, welcome back, Thomas Hayden Church. I feel like I haven't seen him in a long time.
I know. And
I love that guy.
He's so good. He's great. He should do more things. I hope he has like a Brendan Fraser-esque, gets nominated for stuff. So
yes.
So this, like the other films, these don't share a continuity other than Benoit Blanc. I think in Glass Onion, they may have referenced the previous movie like once. Yeah. And in this one, they're like, aren't you the guy that solved and it's some other adventure we haven't seen.
Yep. That's right.
So, as always, what's great about these, I don't know why you would, but you could watch them out of order. It's not a big deal. And so in this one, Benoit Blanc is solving, a murder that has happened at a, small town church, and, mystery things ensue and discussions about faith and Christ ensue. Dustin, what did you think of Wake Up? This is your first time seeing it?
Yeah, I saw it when it was released originally back in December, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I did too.
I have not rewatched it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I mean, all of these movies are strong. All of them are solid. Yeah. I'm hard pressed to pick a favorite. They each have moments that are really different factors that I really like about each individual piece. But I really liked this movie. It's certainly worth your time. And especially if you have Netflix already, what are you doing? Just watch it already. Daniel Craig continues to be so great in this role. It seems like something he likes to play.
Yes.
And to your point, Rian Johnson, I always liked because obviously he came from
indies. I mean,
well, yeah, he came from the indie world and made some things that I genuinely liked.
And if you recall, his breakout, Brick, is a noir mystery film. It's
Correct.
Always been his favorite type of story.
That's exactly right. And then he moved over and did a couple episodes of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. And those are always good.
One of which is generally considered the best episode of Breaking Bad ever. Ozymandias.
Yeah, that's right.
Which until a month ago had a perfect 10 on IMDb as the best rated episode of television
some
ever.
Asshole came.
Yeah, I think it was after it was something I read something about it. It was basically a review bomb because somebody wanted to bolster something else. Anyway, whatever.
Great.
Point is, it had a 10.0. I'm going to still say that it does.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's he's a great director. After that, it was a little weird. He hit that spell where Looper was okay.
Yeah.
And then Star Wars was Star Wars, right?
Yep.
It's well documented what happened there.
Yep.
It's flaws and like failures. I've never really truly put that on his shoulders.
No.
Although he's the writer director.
Yeah.
Because it feels more like, well, where was the oversight?
That's the thing. It's like, I don't like that story or the execution of it, but someone should have told him no before hiring him and giving him money.
Somebody should have been on that set daily saying, hold on, you can't do a your mama joke in the middle of a Star Wars battle.
Yeah. And that person is Kathleen Kennedy, who is now leaving Lucasfilm and turning it over to Dave Filoni, which is a good news for Star Wars in general. But like, yeah, the idea that you would, it's the peak of what's wrong with studio filmmaking is you have a release date. We're committing to that before we have a script. We're going to hire a director before he's finished a script. And then we're not going to not look at it or not really read it that much until like halfway through shooting.
Yep.
And then make him feel nervous about it after it's too late to make any changes.
Yep. The problem with it was like, obviously The Last Jedi had its own problems and we're not here to review that movie, but I can't lay it all on his feet because there should have been a plan in place that said, hey, this trilogy is working toward this moment and you need to fit into that moment. And instead they just said, here's carte blanche, do whatever you want.
Right.
Here's Benoit Blanche, do whatever you want. And like, and he does whatever, he just did his own thing. And that wasn't the right move. Right. Was it the right move for him in terms of like artistically? Sure. Yeah. It scratched his itch. It did what he did what he wanted to do.
I fully expect him to come into a pitch with that idea. I just also fully expect someone who's building a trilogy to be like, this is cool, but we're not going to do that. But
yeah, it's cool, but not for this.
We'd like to work with you on something else.
Yeah, exactly. So it is his fault. It's also not his fault. So the fact that he's found these Knives Out films, is a good thing. It's his wheelhouse. Would I at this point like for him to take a break and do something else? Yes. I think you've done 3 Knives Out movies. Now show me you can do something else and then come back. But like take a break. And if he doesn't want to, fine, do whatever you want. But like for me, I'm just looking at it going, I want to see you do something else. I know you can. And so that's where I'm at with it. But I enjoyed this film. And I think particularly it's some of what it has to say about Christianity and the way that that's practiced in America and misused in America is and the world over is a it's an interesting thing to include in a murder mystery. Yeah. And that's what sort of elevates this and these films, that he's willing to use this whodunit formula to tell something else that's on his mind and explore something else. And so for that reason, like I got to give him credit. It's a really good story. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think what this movie does really well is rather than satirize and send up its villains and their worlds like the previous 2 movies, which is high income egomaniacs. Yeah. And in the 1%, it gives a nuanced equal time to the patrons of religion's true message of love and forgiveness and the bad actors within it who seek to weaponize it for their own ends. Yeah. He seems to detest ego in all of its forms, whether that power comes from money or from having spiritual influence over people, moral influence over people. Yeah. I'd be really interested to talk to him about which idea came first here. Was it to do a film within the church, or was it to do the locked door mystery? Like what idea, came first? And upon some reading, it seems like it was the locked door mystery, but either would fascinate me because no matter where he started, he constructed an incredibly intricate mystery here, and that I think could only be told through this setting with these characters to extrapolate like the whole idea of like this thing has to be seen as a miracle. Like, well, in what context does that matter? Well, it should probably be at a church. And then it's like, well, then what are we talking about? This was my second time seeing it. And so especially on a second watch, and I saw this in the first watch too, but I made note of it this time, how many times we stayed true to the Josh O'Connor, Father Judd's, like his actual character journey, which was he wanted to actually bring people to Christ. And he was very frustrated with an institution that either wouldn't let him do that or kept, or was populated by people who weren't doing that.
Yeah,
and his
didn't
contempt.
share his,
Yeah. And a contempt which we don't see much of in movies. You don't see much of priests being mad that other priests aren't doing a good job of being priests. You just sort of, you know.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing to see, not even in a religious context, but just to see like righteous frustration that somebody who's supposed to be living up to a specific moral standard isn't. And not only isn't, but is seems to be using their position for selfish ends. I don't need him to make other movies. I just want him to make more of these, as many as he wants to make. I'm enjoying them. I want more. Please release them all on physical.
Yeah.
It's the only downside of these movies is they're on Netflix. And I do have Knives Out on physical, but you can't get Glass Onion and you can't get this right now.
Yep.
And if like we talked about last week, if those Zoomers or whoever have their big revolution of physical media, I would like for them to pick it in front of Netflix and just be like, you don't have to take them off the platform. Just make us some Blu-rays.
Yeah, that's right.
Because these movies are gorgeous. They're so gorgeous. They're well shot films in real places. Great cast. I agree. I get a huge kick out of not only Daniel Craig's performance, but feeling like this is something he enjoys. And I like feeling that.
I remember when Knives Out came out and I thought like, oh, it's weird that they got Daniel Craig to do this, like, Southern, detective. And I was like, so this is a weird match. And I could probably see him being like, okay, I did it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And then they announced Glass Onion and I was like, oh, he's coming back. And like, that felt really weird to me that like he wanted to do it again. And then now it's just like, oh, he clearly either really likes Ryan and working with Ryan, or he really likes this character. I don't think that the character is the most well-rounded character in the world ever, or the most challenging for an actor to portray. But it probably is a lot of fun.
I imagine the technical aspects of playing Blanc are very, very many. The amount of words you have to memorize, the amount of lines you have to commit to memory. Yeah,
but you're not doing a lot of emotional, like work.
Right.
Not usually. Yeah.
Not usually. Yeah. But these films, of course, are like, it takes, a master level of directing because you just like shot design truly matters. Each time, because she and I rewatched, she hadn't seen any of the, I think she'd seen Glass Onion, but hadn't seen the other two. And so we did a rewatch. And so Glass Onion, especially the part where the glasses, the cups are switched, things like that. I'm sitting there like watching for it. Like, okay, like they did show us this, right? And it's plain to see, but you just don't recognize it. And there's stuff in this movie, plain as day, as day.
But it feels mundane. And so your brain doesn't quite.
I didn't even see it the first time.
Yeah.
Like when they explain the mystery at the end, I'm looking and I'm like, that was there?
Yeah.
And you can go rewind, and it was. And on the second watch, I'm sitting there like, wow, it's right the fuck in front of me, which is what you're supposed to do. If you're going to do a looky-loo on the audience like that, it has to have been there.
The number one thing that throws me for like out of a mystery story is if the audience can't properly decipher the clues for themselves and come to the right conclusion. If the writer withholds information so that the reveal is a surprise. To me, that's not good. You have to risk, like as a writer, you have to risk telling the audience everything and having them figure it out. If you can't risk that, if you don't risk that, then it's boring. And I'd rather you risk it and me feel like I'm really smart because I figured it out than you withhold information that I need in order to solve it. And I've seen a ton of stories where, the detective at the end reveals information that the audience never got. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. That feels awful.
It's the word version of a jump scare for me. Like one is you're hijacking my fight or flight response. And if you are pulling surprises out of your ass that I couldn't have found myself, or you just straight up didn't tell me. Yeah. Then you're hijacking my novelty response.
That's right.
Like, oh, there was a tractor outside.
Yep.
Oh, that explains it.
Yep.
Which, if I'm young or silly, then I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yes.
But if you want something out of your stories, you go, when did they tell us about the tractor?
Yeah.
Is there a shot where it's visible in the background?
Correct.
No.
And a lot of times the answer is no. The writer wants to preserve that moment. Yeah. And so they withhold something.
Because they're a bad writer.
It does two things. It enables them to surprise the audience because they can't otherwise.
And do less work.
Right. And two, it bolsters the intelligence of their hero, of their detective, by saying like, oh, and here's this other piece that they noticed. Yep. And it's like, okay, well, cool. They do seem smart. But I was not a part of this. Yeah. I was kept at arm's length. And so that sucks.
Right. It makes me feel dumb, and I shouldn't feel dumb because I didn't have the information that I could have figured it out.
I would rather not try to figure it out. I would rather it happen to me.
When I watch these movies, I don't do that. Like I know plenty of people who sit there and they want to solve it. And it's like, that's cool, but that's not fun at all.
I don't want to do that.
The mystery's going to be, the movie's going to end, and I don't have to do that. Like if it's a real life mystery, well, then if I don't try to figure it out, it's not going to get figured out.
That's right.
Well, this is a movie. It's going to end.
This is going to tell me the answer at the end.
You can just passively enjoy it, and it'll resolve itself.
That's right.
That's the whole point.
These are smartly made movies.
Yeah.
And I do think you can go to any one of them and figure it out before Benoit Blanc reveals it to the audience.
Yeah. There were certain points in the movie where I'd see a shot that I knew was incriminating, and then I'd get like a slap, like a shoulder slap, like, okay, you saw it, yeah. And there was, do we want to get into any spoilers on this, or do we even need to?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Yeah,
it's been out for a while.
Let's go spoilers. Watch the movie, everybody.
Yeah.
At some point, Blanc gives the final monologue, and he's like, I don't know, I can't solve the mystery. Everyone goes outside, and Cy is talking to the media and all this stuff. And then Kerry Washington and Glenn Close are standing there, and it's like, well, I guess they'll arrest Father Judd now. And that's when Paula went, I think it's Glenn Close. And which at that point, that shot's kind of suggesting it.
Yeah.
But I did tell her later, I was like, the reason I suspected Glenn Close was because the minute she shows up, you're like, well, this is an odd character, but they're all supposed to be a little suspicious. That's the point. As the movie went on, I don't know why Glenn Close would take this role if her character wasn't guilty.
Yeah.
At a certain point, the machinery think takes over, and it's like, why would you take just this weird bit role where you just do and say odd things and act weird?
Yep.
If your character doesn't have some kind of arc and transformation, or do something or say something bigger. So at a certain point, the first time I was like, well, it's gotta be Glenn Close. She hasn't done anything yet. Everyone else has done a thing. Like I understand why I know why Jeremy Renner's here, but it's like,
yep. Well, it's that. And also for me, like typically in a murder mystery, the person who's the most loyal to the victim is often the person to suspect, quickest. Yeah. And so she was the first person I suspected.
Interesting.
But I also, again, I'm not trying to figure it out.
But you have more mystery structure knowledge than I do in that sense. You've been exposed to more Agatha Christie than me.
Sure.
So that seems like a rule of thumb that anyone who reads mysteries would know to consider. Yeah. And I'm just here like, bloop, bloop, I wonder who did it.
Right. Well, and there's tropes, right? Like that's a trope. It's like the person who's most loyal to the victim is someone to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. The other big trope, and this one gets me all the time, is it's in Knives Out, actually. I think it's like a grandma or something, pay attention to the old crazy people because they give you the answers. Mm-hmm. And so like it always happens where like you'll see like an old lady or whatever. It's usually an old lady. Yeah. And like they, the detective's like, and tell me where you were. And she says something really off the cuff. Like, there was Santa Claus on the roof. And you're like, oh, this lady's crazy.
She's
but then
crazy.
You're like, nope, hold on. Someone was on the roof last night. The killer was on the
roof. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so they always do that. It's a huge trope.
It just takes such skill to execute that writing and for actors to deliver it in such a way that it's innocuous in the moment.
Yes.
But it doesn't betray when later it's revealed to be important.
But to your point too, like shot composition plays a huge role in this.
Oh my God.
Because when you talk about shot composition, there are rules of like how in a composition, and any good DP knows this, any good director knows this, how you draw the audience's eyes to certain things within a frame.
Yeah.
And you can do this with contrast. You can do this with, actual framing and placement. There's so many different ways you can do this. Okay, cool. Movement, right? All these things that draw your eye, and like any good magician, sleight of hand says, I'm looking here when I should be looking there.
Yeah.
And that is like key. Yeah. So when there's like a good, like you can tell those incriminating shots, like it's a random insert shot of something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I got to be watching. But watch where they want me to watch. But now look at the opposite area. Look at the negative space, because that's like, oh, they're hiding something there
in plain sight.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's where the slightly comedic tone is helpful, because you can make a strange cut to something. Yeah. And it just reads as an odd detail of this person's house or the setting, right. Especially if they're like in Knives Out, especially if there's like a discordant musical cue, like a then you're just like, oh, it's fucking weird. Yeah. Easy, you know, but, right. And then later it's like, no, that's the weapon,
Right.
It's important.
Totally.
We covered it with oddities. Yes. So you would laugh at us and stop thinking.
That's right. All that said, like there are certainly tropes to play with, and certainly, places where my mind goes. But when I'm watching it, I'm also not looking at it through the lens of like, let me see how many of these clues point to Glenn Close. Right. Instead, I'm like, oh, that's someone to look out for. But then I just go with the flow. Like I try not to, because like, again, to your point, I know people who want to figure it out. Yeah. My wife's one of them. I would much rather be continually surprised by the film than sit and like scrutinize over where it's probably going to go. Because my brain does that by default anyway in film structure. Yes. I don't need to like logic my way into the answer of this.
I don't need to ruin the way I experience life anymore. It's already ruined.
It's already
by my
ruined.
Education.
That's exactly right. I already know how this is going to end. Yeah. I should probably not do it more.
I think also when it's a well-made movie, you really don't have to think. It's all there, and it comes together and it makes sense. If it's an okay movie or a bad movie, that's where you go back and go, that's where you can get that, because you're not going to get satisfaction from the ending itself. So you're going to be like, well, you go back and you basically pick apart the ways in which the movie fell short of what. Yeah. I know afterwards Paula said this was her favorite one, and I think it is mine too. And the reason why is I just felt like it had the most to say. I recontextualized the ending. I understood it better this time. Blanc pretends to not know the mystery. Yeah. Because he knows that it's Glenn Close. Yeah. He being whatever, a dirty heathen, whatever he called himself, he being a non-religious person, recognizes still her humanity and the gift of letting her confess it to Father Judd. Yeah. Because he knows what she ultimately wants and always wanted, even throughout this, was absolution. Yep. And so he vacates the room so that she'll come forward on her own. Yep. Confess it to Father Judd, who is eager to actually save somebody's soul. And I was just like, God, it's just beautiful. And like a lesser film would have just thrown the church out the window. Yep. And it's nice that this movie, like, let it kind of take the lead and become part of the plot, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is a strength. So I would agree. I think this film has more to say than the other films, and certainly is tackling some like ideas that I think are necessary at the moment. And I think that makes it more like prescient than the others. But all that said, like, you know, Glass Onion probably has the best cast of the three. Knives Out probably has the best mystery. Like, and then, you know, it just kind of like, there's good things about all of them. I feel like with Wake Up Dead Man, there's a couple of missed opportunities in the cast, or like not, I won't even go as far as to say it's miscast, but missed opportunities within that cast. And maybe it's because like at this point I want like every role to be played by, you know, an A-lister that is playing against type. Like I would love for that to be the case. But all that said, it does feel like there are a few actors who don't elevate the role, if that makes sense.
Sure.
They're delivering, but they're not elevating. And then there are some that truly elevate it. And so when you put the two together, you're like, oh, someone's not up to the same level as the others. And that's really like the only big complaint I have. I feel like it's a well-made movie. For me, it's the first interpretation of like Catholicism that feels actually a little more Protestant. And in reading, you know, Rian Johnson said like, yeah, you know, he grew up Protestant, and he's like, but you know, all of our churches just look like, what did he put it, like hobby barns or whatever. He's like, they don't look cinematic. So he changed it to a Catholic, you know, setting.
Sure.
And but the core like message feels universal to Christianity rather than like
specific.
You know, sometimes Catholicism like in movies feels very Catholic. And sometimes the Christianity in general in movies doesn't actually feel authentic at all. This felt authentic, and it felt authentically universal. So for me, I thought it was one of the better representations of Christianity. And also like Father Judd was just such a great like character. At not like by the end, a lesser movie also would have had him like renounce, or would have had him be like, you know what, this whole thing is just screwed up and I'm done. You know, and instead it really just culminates in I'm going to finally do the thing that I set out to do. And the thing that I set out to do is just to be faithful. And I feel like it's a really good example of that. So I would probably agree that in terms of like its messaging, this is the strongest. I would also argue that this is the least that Blanc has ever actually had to do in any of these films. It feels like you could have removed him from this and just had Father Judd solve everything. And it wouldn't have changed too much.
Sure.
Would I have done that? Absolutely not.
Right.
But I think you could have. And so it's also a weird position for a Blanc movie because the detective is almost irrelevant.
Yeah, that is interesting. He does do a lot of tagging along in this.
Yeah.
And just sort of quietly collecting clues.
And like slightly pushing Father Judd, but like not really. He's like Gandalfing, but he's not really like, you know, doing the thing.
He's not degaffing. He's Gandalfing.
He's Gandalfing. So yeah, man. But I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's a great movie.
I really do want them to do that Muppets crossover.
Dude, it would be so good. I don't know how you do it. Just a Christmas special. I mean, it's this Netflix. You can just put stuff out on Netflix. Make them. I mean, you can't with the Muppets, but Disney would be like, nah, I'm not doing that. It's going to Disney Plus. But I think it would be really fun.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah, to have him crossing paths with those characters would be just such a match made in heaven.
Oh, for sure.
He feels like a Muppet already.
He does. But can you imagine like interrogating Miss Piggy?
Yes.
And her being offended by his questions? And,
yes.
you know, him like having to butter up her ego to get her to spill, you know. And it's like he interviews Uncle Deadly.
Yes.
And it's like, it's clearly this guy, you know? Like,
yeah, right. Right. It's got to be him.
But it's not, you know, it's, you know, anyway, it's, oh man. Yeah.
And interviewing like the Swedish chef.
Or Beaker.
I just see it like devolving into like a Swedish chef is doing the Swedish chef bit, and eventually Blanc is just doing that bit, but with a Southern accent. And that's what the entire scene is. And then I just see Gonzo just looking at the camera and going,
"Who would be the
following
victim?
Any of this?
Would it be some random human, or would it be like Sweetums?" Can you imagine Sweetums like in a morgue with a cloth over his body?
Yes. No,
I'd like to see that. Sweetums scares me. That's Wake Up Dead Man.
Yeah.
Kuhschmiggity.